To the show. Today, my guest is Jagmeet Singh, the leader of the New Democratic Party of Canada. Jagmeet has been the leader of the NDP since 2017. His political career began in 2011, where he contested the 2011 federal election in the riding of Bramalea, Gore, Malton, which resulted in a narrow victory for his Conservative opponent. He then later became the member of Provincial Parliament in the overlapping provincial election that took place later that year. In 2015, he was appointed deputy leader of the Ontario NDP, serving in that position until 2017. In 2017, he ran for the leadership of the NDP, where he won at the party's convention with 53.8% of the vote in a field of 4 on the first round. So hello, Jagmeet, and thank you very much for taking the time to join me today.
My pleasure. Thanks for the great intro.
So before we start, I know you're very active on TikTok and other social media platforms, and I know I saw one of your TikTok videos you posted about making sure that people pronounce your name correctly. So how is your name pronounced? And then can you tell my viewers what it means? Because I know there's something special about it.
What good research you've done. That's such a great question. So my name is pronounced Jug like hug. You said it right. Jagmeet. And the emphasis actually is on the second part. So it's like Jagmeet. And it means friend to the world. So Jug means world and meet means friend. So it translates to friend to the world. So when I hear it, I really like that it has that meaning and it makes me smile when I think about it. It's also a lot of pressure to live up to it. I try to be friendly. So yeah, that's what it means. Jagmeet, friend to the world.
Okay, and so just my next question is, why did you get involved in politics, and why did you feel the need, or why did you want to run for office?
Well, the direct answer is my brother made me do it. He's my younger brother, but he's really persuasive and he thought it would be a good idea. But eventually I saw the benefit. I was working as a lawyer and helping one person at a time. And then I realized that his argument was, if we get into politics, we can help more people. We can help an entire city. We can help a province. Eventually we could help the country, maybe the world. So that was pretty compelling. And he convinced me that I would be able to help out people. And because we've gone through some struggles as a family, I've gone through some things I can relate to what people go through. So he convinced me. Another good friend was a part of it. They kind of did a good cop, bad cop routine on me. And I eventually was persuaded. And then I jumped into politics in 2011.
Yeah, and for my listeners who don't know your brother, he's the member of Provincial Parliament for Brampton East and is the Deputy Opposition House Leader in the Ontario Legislature.
That's right. He's also got a great TikTok too, if you want to check out his TikTok. Some might even say he's better than me.
I want to start out with obviously a tragedy that we heard of with the residential schools, where 215 children in Kamloops, BC were found buried on the site. So looking back on that, obviously a tragic time in our history, what should we be doing to bring awareness to important issues like this one and making sure that people are aware of these terrible situations?
I really appreciate the question, and it's really sensitive to what's going on right now. It's a moment where I think a lot of Canadians are really sad. They saw what happened. They're horrified that little kids were buried like that, were killed by this residential school. And what I hope is that there is a momentum. There's like a momentum right now where people want to do something about it. So people are grieving, people are sad, there's memorials, but we're also demanding some action. The federal government has to act. So a couple of things that we're asking the government to do right now that they have the power to do is to stop fighting Indigenous kids in court. The Canadian Human Rights Tribunal had 4 different rulings stating that the Canadian government didn't fund Indigenous kids equally. So that those rulings were put in place, and then instead of following them, the federal government right now is fighting that ruling in court, fighting those kids in court. So we're saying, stop fighting those kids in court, give them that equal funding. These are Indigenous kids that have been unfairly treated. And then there's some survivors from a residential school called St. Anne's that have pushed for some fairness, some justice. And the federal government's also fighting them in court. Justin Trudeau is fighting them in court. We're saying, well, don't fight those survivors in court. We also know that there's this commission, the TRC, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, and they have 94 calls to action, things that we need to do. So we're saying that the federal government should actually put those in place, listen to those calls to action. And then there's a number of things we can do. Support additional communities that might want to search and have closure in their lives. Maybe there's additional burial sites. So supporting communities, and then finally giving support to survivors. Those are some of the concrete things that we're asking for. Just a starting point. There's a lot more that we can do, but I think that would help. I think people should know that residential schools were these really horrible institutions that try to eliminate Indigenous people, and we should know about that.
So, all good points. So my next question is, I talked to Charlie Angus not even about 10 days ago, and I asked him the exact same question. So the federal budget that was released on April 19th, if it wasn't for your party, then potentially Canada could have been in an election right now. So other than some of the obvious reasons, why do you and your party feel that putting Canada into a pandemic election is not a smart thing to do?
Well, when you just say it out loud like that, it doesn't sound like a good idea. We're in a pandemic. We probably shouldn't be in an election right now. We saw other provinces in this later stage try to do it. We saw Newfoundland and Labrador have an election not too long ago, a couple of months ago, and their election date got pushed back 3 times because of outbreaks. People were afraid to go and vote. And there was a poll that was done, and Canadians were asked, what do you think about a pandemic election right now with vaccines available, with the third wave, with some of the variants out there? And Canadians said it would be unfair and unsafe to do it right now. And I agree. I think it would be also irresponsible to plunge the country into an election when we're so close to getting everyone vaccinated. That's got to be the priority, because once everyone's vaccinated, then people are less likely to get really sick and they're less likely to end up in the hospital. And we can actually open up more. We can start getting back to doing the things that we want to do, being able to go to school. And well, maybe kids don't want to go to school, but being able to see our friends again, and maybe being able to connect with each other and go out and spend time with our friends and our family and have them over at our homes again. So I think that's got to be the priority, keeping people safe, getting to a point where we can actually start doing the things that we want to do again. And then once that happens, we can start looking at a better time for an election.
So my next question that I have for you today is, obviously, Bill C-10 is a bill that has sparked lots of different opinions among different parties, and it's kind of hard because, let's say, if you go on Twitter or something, you'll see at one point that one party's supporting it, and then the next minute they're not, and so it's kind of going back and forth. But and obviously, some agree to it and some do not. So, with where this piece of legislation is right now, do you support it? And maybe point out some positive things about it and some negative things about it.
Absolutely. So the general idea that I support without any question is that Canadian businesses should not be disadvantaged, and Canadian artists and musicians shouldn't be put in disadvantage. So what happens right now is, if you've got a Canadian distributor, like a streaming service that's set up in Canada, let's say, Wyatt, you set up a streaming service that streams cool Canadian content or puts out some cool shows. That channel that you set up would have to follow the rules around Canadian content. It would have to have a certain percentage of the shows that are Canadian content. Right now, if you're an international or foreign company like Netflix or Amazon Prime or Disney Plus, you can operate in Canada, but you don't have any of the same rules that Canadian companies have to follow. So why would we give an exception or an exemption to international companies and make Canadian companies follow the rules? We would say that everyone should follow the rules, particularly the international companies, because why would we set our companies up for an unfair situation? We want everyone to be able to do well, but we certainly want to favor, if anyone, we want to favor our own companies here in Canada. So that's kind of the idea, that local artists and musicians and Canadian TV shows should all be, or Canadian broadcasters should all be at the same level playing field and shouldn't be taken advantage by the international companies. But what happened with this bill is the Liberals didn't really manage it very well. And in doing so, they opened up this question about freedom of expression. And we don't want to see any limits on people being able to post what they want. Shows like yours, why it should be able to go up and not have any problems. So we want to make sure that there's no problems around people's ability to contribute to social media. I use social media lots. I don't want to be limited in doing that. But we also want to make sure that if we're Canadian artists and musicians and Canadian content creators, directors, film producers, and sort of filmmakers, we want to make sure that they are supported. And right now the laws are pretty unfair where it comes to international companies versus local companies. So that's kind of the breakdown. So I want the bill to protect Canadians and I wanted to also protect our freedom of expression. And I think there's a way to do that.
Okay, and so on the topic of mental health, it's something that your party at the federal level has been talking about, and obviously people like Andrea Horvath have been talking about it a lot as well. We know schools in the province of Ontario, it was announced just today that they would not be returning. So what should the provincial governments be doing, but more so, how could the federal government be working with the provincial governments to help provide support for Ontarians, specifically students, in this time of need?
Well, you hit it right on. This is a really tough thing. As much as initially I was joking saying kids don't want to go to school, kids do want to be able to go see their friends and be amongst that kind of school environment where you get to hang out and get to learn and have fun memories. Going to school from home is not the same thing. It doesn't really create the same experience. It's tough and it's hard to do. And it's hard to stay focused and pay attention when you're just looking at a screen the whole time. So it's having an impact that gets hurting people's mental health. It's tough. So we support the idea of getting kids back to school, being able to go back to school. That's the best place to learn. That's the best place to have those experiences. And so far, I mean, I'm sad to say this, but the provincial government in Ontario has really failed students. It's failed kids. Doug Ford has chosen to support reopening versus actually letting kids go to school. And that was a bad choice. So I also think, though, at the federal level, the federal government can't just put their hands up and say, oh, it's not our job, we're just not going to do anything. I think that the federal government always has ways to help out. And to me, what I think of leadership, it's not looking for excuses. A real leader tries to find solutions. So I think that the federal government has a lot of power, a lot of abilities to work with provinces to help kids get back to school, to provide support so that there's enough PPE in classes, there's enough protections in place, the safety protocols are in place. There's ways to help provinces so that we can have kids go back to school. I really think it's important. And we just heard recently from some doctors saying that there's real serious consequence to the mental health of kids because they're not able to be in classes and be with their friends and play with each other and hang out and have those experiences.
Okay, and so on the topic of climate change, so obviously the climate crisis is a big issue, one that future generations like mine and more generations to come will continue to feel the effects of. So if you get elected prime minister, or even if with however many seats your party wins in the next election, how will you try to make an impact, and what steps will you try to take to help slow down and stop the climate crisis?
A couple of things we got to really think about. First of all, the climate crisis is going to impact young people more than everyone else because you're going to have to grow up in this planet if we're not taking care of it. The bad decisions that the previous generation makes are going to be inherited by the next generation. But we also know that they're not actually long distance problems or like long-term problems. We know that the problems are happening right now. We saw some of the worst forest fires. My riding is in Burnaby now in BC. And just a couple summers ago, the forest fires were so bad that people were told to stay indoors, that you couldn't breathe the air because it was so filled with smoke and fumes. So we know that the climate crisis is hitting us right now. In other communities, there's big flooding in Ottawa and in Montreal, in Quebec areas. There was serious flooding that meant people had lost their homes. Some people lost their lives. There's heat waves happening in different places. So there's serious weather or extreme weather caused by the climate crisis that's hurting us now. So we've got to fight this climate crisis, and we can't just talk about it. We have to fight this crisis like we want to win, and it has to be real concrete steps. So what we talked about is really like looking at every option possible, from the way we get around transportation. Let's electrify transportation, more public transit. The way we live, we know that buildings are a big cause or a big contributor to greenhouse. What if we could retrofit every building and make sure buildings took less energy to heat or to cool? There's a lot that we can do in energy generation, making sure we focus on renewable energy that doesn't actually emit any emissions to that drive up climate crisis. So there's a lot that we can do. I'm just really committed to doing everything possible to create good jobs, to make sure that we've got a bright future, but we're protecting our planet.
Okay, and as one final question today, why should people vote for the NDP in the next election, and what are some main things that if the NDP got elected, they would try and accomplish in government?
Well, I think it's a really important question. So for folks who are making that decision, I just want you to know that New Democrats, we are focused on people. We fight for people every single day. And in this pandemic, when times are really tough, And when things are really hard, we were able to get a lot of help to people. People weren't able to buy food or to pay their bills. They needed help. We were able to double the amount of money that went to people, $1,000 more a month for everyone that needed help. So we really helped out lots of people. For students that needed help because they couldn't find a summer job, those summer jobs weren't available, we were able to get them help. And for people that needed to keep their jobs, we were able to bring in this thing called the wage subsidy that kept a lot of people hired. It kept their jobs. And then we brought in this thing called paid sick leave so that people who got sick could stay at home. The Liberals didn't do the best job with it. It could have been better, but we still helped out hundreds and thousands of people. So we've shown in the pandemic that we can fight and help and make things different, make things better for people. Imagine we only had 24 people. We only had 24 MPs. And we were able to make these really big changes. Imagine what we could do if we were in government. And that's what I say, that we would make sure that this government works for people. We would make sure our healthcare system is there, protect the environment, we create good jobs. We help out young people and students who want to go to school and make sure it's easy for them and help them with their student debt. So we really just want to make sure that the economy works for people, that everything we do helps out the people who need it most. That's our focus, and that's what we would do if we were elected, and that's why I think people should vote for us.
All right, well, that was my final question. So again, thanks so much, Jagmeet, for joining me, and it's been great chatting with you.
Great chatting with you too, Wyatt. You got a bright future in this. This is awesome. You're really good at this.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.